Welcome to Obstacle Running Adventures.
Over the last 7 years, we have consistently released weekly episodes focusing on
obstacle course racing, running, and other adventures.
You'll hear interviews, event recaps, conversations about our sport,
quick news updates about happenings in our community.
And now, here are your hosts,
Standing on the corner,
Michael Stefano and Caitlin Ritter.
Hey guys, it's Michael Stefano.
And Caitlin Ritter. And Michael, how was your weekend?
Pretty good. We went to New Jersey for your cousin's bridal shower.
Yep.
So that was pretty fun. Haven't gone down to New Jersey since June, so it has been a while. How
We're
did you enjoy
getting
it?
another cousin.
Yes, yeah, we love Kurt. So very excited for that.
Yes,
Not to
we
be
are
confused with Kirk, which
I've gotten a lot better about knowing
too,
which
yeah.
one is which.
it was very difficult because this weekend I talked to both Kurt and Kirk. So
I saw that Kirk
yeah.
slid into the DMs.
Well, I messaged him first. I sent him an old clip that did not age well, and we laughed about that because Spartan's being Spartan. Yes. Let's give a shout out to our sponsors.
Shout out Mudgear, use code ADVENTURE for 15% off your next Mudgear purchase, and Caterpie, use code OCR Report 20 for 20% off your next Caterpie purchase.
All right, we're going to shout out the $5+ Patreon supporters.
Jason Dupree, Samantha Thompson, Bradley Keel, Charlotte Engelman, Aaron Grindstaff, Laura and Stephen Ritter, Hank and Arlene Stefano, Kenny West, Cheryl Miller, Jessica Johnson, Nick Riker, Christopher Hoover, Kevin Gregory Jr., Evan Irick, Brent George, Logan Nagel, Asa Coddington, and Seth Rinderknech.
Yeah, thank you guys so much for the support. Check in the Facebook group or the Patreon site if you didn't see the last two Patreon videos that we did. One behind the scenes, one a game, and always whenever we do one of these interviews, we'll post them as soon as that gets done. The full unedited video, which I think this was done on like Tuesday. So you guys got to see this well in advance. And shout out to the OCR Report for being a great home for us on the internet.
And to Will Hicks.
The Podfather. Check it out over at theocrreport.com. They recorded something without me when you guys were... I thought we were just grabbing lunch. And I'm like, yeah, I should be back in time. And then I was gone for like 4 or 5 hours.
I did not realize the plan.
Yeah, there was no plan. That was the worst of it.
Which is crazy because they made it sound like there was a plan.
I genuinely think that the guys didn't really have a plan. And then the wives were like... oh, you guys should all get together. And so
I think the bride orchestrated it because she texted my dad and me asking if you guys wanted to go to lunch.
Oh, well, it went very poorly. But we got through it eventually. But we were on a recent episode of the OCR Report podcast too. So if you haven't checked that out, I'd be surprised. It was a good one. I think I'm only halfway through it, but you listened to the whole one already, right?
Yeah, I was very entertained.
You had to edit out about, an hour? We had a lot of other things to say too. It was a good time, but... yeah. And shout out to our sponsored athletes.
Javier Escobar, Kelly Sullivan, Ryan Brizzolaro, Joshua Reed, and Kevin Gregory.
Who should have a package mailed to him tomorrow.
Yes.
We thought about dropping it off since we were driving through Connecticut.
I need his address.
I have it. And poll results.
I posted...
First poll in a while. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. I said, it's a screenshot of a text message that you and I had, and you texted me saying, broke something. And I said, your partner sends you this text while they're out for a run, ... Do you assume 55% of people said they broke something physically, 15% of people said they broke a new PR, and 30% of people said you don't answer until they elaborate.
Yeah, I thought that was pretty funny. We got a lot of love from posting that on my personal one and the podcast one.
And what did you do, Mikey?
I did an 8-minute PR for... well, it's not a PR, but I broke 8 minutes for a mile, which isn't that big of a deal, but 1, I am slow, and 2, I don't have access to a track anymore, so this was an out and back, and I wouldn't call it a big hill, but when you're trying to do all-out mile, it was a big hill, so that was pretty difficult. Got through it.
Yeah, people seem to be entertained by, real-life things of our lives.
This is who we are. Gonna skip meme of the week, but let's get to some quick news, starting with the Boston Marathon qualification time changes. So, Caitlin, you found this one.
I think people are confused about this.
Yeah. So, wait, why do you think people are confused about it?
Because I think I've seen people talk about how... hold on.
And the Colonial Roadrunners group, they're like, oh, finally, it's about time that they made this easier. And I'm like, no, this made things harder.
People are thinking that it's getting easier, but it's getting harder.
Yes.
So the qualification times got smaller.
Yeah, or shorter in duration.
Shorter.
This comes to us from Runner's World mag. And they even posted that, it just got even tougher to get into the Boston Marathon. So briefly, we're not going to go over the standards. You can kind of link in bio. It's a lot. It's a lot. I'm not getting in that way. I can tell you that right now.
Well, let's just say, how old are you? You're
33.
So Mike would be in the 18 to 34-year-old age group, which means he would have to run a full marathon in 2 hours and 55 minutes.
Not likely. I know I was able to get a half marathon under 2 hours. That was a big deal for me. But again, not quick. Next up, I want to give a shout out to Tough Mudder for unveiling the 2025 Tough Mudder medals. Caitlin, what do you think about them?
Oh, they're fancy.
They're awesome looking, but it also kind of made me feel a little upset. So they overlap and they kind of create a thing. But we're not getting these, so it kind of sucks that, again, there's no Tough Mudder in New England.
Oh, yeah, that does stink.
So,
or New Jersey, right? There's no, tri-state
or New York.
Mudder.
Yeah. Yeah, because it used to be Englishtown, New Jersey, Long Island, New York, at least one in New England. So, probably not going to be getting one of those, which is a bummer. I completely forgot that they had medals for this year. But if you do live close to where they have a Tough Mudder, that's pretty awesome. And then the 2025 Spartan medals came out too.
Less cool.
I think the ones this year are peak design. I think this year is my favorite I think they've ever been. And then I didn't really... I guess I must have had a Palmerton one from last year. Did it look like that kid's medal?
Yeah.
Because that's a 2023
kids medal.
Okay. Yeah, that one's okay. This year's look really awesome. I like just that... I mean, it's the year of the snake, so it does kind of look like snakeskin. I think that's what they're going on with that. This...
It's the Reputation era.
Yes. This, I don't know.
What is that?
It's got a couple notches cut out. It's interesting. I like that they're switching it up, but...
Does it come with the flames?
Yeah, it comes with the flames.
Wait, did you see the new Spartan t-shirts?
No. It's an impromptu addition to the news stories.
Yeah. You just made me think of it, that's why.
Hold on. Is there stuff spelled wrong on it?
No.
Oh, okay.
Holy smokes, Spartan spams their...
Oh, that sucks. That's like
a design I could have made.
Yeah, no, that's real bad. It's like it's not a plain white t-shirt. What color is that? Green or gray? It's gray. It's got the big Spartan logo on it, and it just changes the color depending on it. What does it show the backs?
No.
Wow, people like them. Maybe they don't realize. Maybe they don't remember when they did.
No, people don't like them. Okay, well, not a fan. Power Rangers.
Yeah.
Who knows?
Yeah.
I don't particularly like. This is like a walking advertisement.
Well, that's what shirts are supposed to be, but it doesn't even.
This
look
is
good.
like
yeah,
t-shirts that children wear.
Yes. Yeah. It's not very good. It's as basic as it can possibly be.
Yeah.
But at least as
a graphic designer did not make them.
Next up, we got podiums, starting with Savage Race, Georgia.
For the men's pro in third place, Ryan Brizzalara. In second place, Jordan McDougall. And in Dougal. And first place, Sean Roberts. For the women's pro in third place, Jessica Shepard. In second place, Rachel Waters. And in first place, Jamie Hornopoulos.
Yeah. It was pretty cool. I saw some videos of Mappy Davis in his little tent doing interviews in there, and there's video clips, and I'm like, ooh, that would be really good. We did some of those whenever you come to events, which is rarely, but it did look really good.
Wow, thank you, Kaylin, for coming to events. You're welcome.
Yeah, well, I think you went to a couple this year, right?
I've been to the majority of them. What event haven't I gone to? The stadium race at
the stadium
City Fields.
You did. Oh yeah, you did go to Viking, Upschool Wonderland. Okay, you went to half.
I went to more. I missed 2.
Savage.
3.
Fit Trail. Are we counting that one?
Fit Trail?
Yeah,
when did that happen?
The first medal. I did that in March.
No, that doesn't count.
Fair.
DECA, yes. DECA, yes. OCR Expo, yes. Viking, yes. Viking, yes.
Still
Viking,
bitter.
Yes.
Still bitter that I have the wrong Boulder Dash medal.
Spartan Race, yes. Color Me Bold, yes.
Spartan Race, Angel Stadium podiums.
For the men, in third place, Joshua Gonzalez. In second place, Daniel Sorensen. And in first place, Glenn Race. And for the women, in third place, Karen Leong. In second place, Chloe Milliken, and in first place, Faye Morgan.
Awesome. And there's secret links, 5 of them down below, so go and check those out. One of them made me laugh so hard I cried, and I just laughed uncontrollably. It was very, very funny. So enjoy those if you want to check those out. But let's finally get to what this episode is all about. So after seeing the results from the Spartan Pan Am Championships, I knew that it would be a great time to finally have on an athlete on the show for the first time. So I reached out to Baylen Bean, who won the event in Seattle last weekend. Our paths almost crossed at the Poconos 3K, but we must have missed him in the chaos of the multiple finish lines and everything of that. But we discussed how he found the sport of obstacle course racing, him qualifying for elite status, his favorite distances to race, how his championship event went, and much more. So let's get to the interview with Baylen. So we'll start off with your name and where you're from.
I'm Baylen Bean, and I'm from Ellensburg, Washington, pretty much center of the state.
Okay, awesome.
Yeah.
Is that near, I think, is Yakima nearby?
Yes, about like half an hour, 40 minutes south.
Well, that's funny. I was out there visiting family in Oregon a long time ago, and I signed up for a couple 5Ks, and I had really badly hurt myself after World's Toughest Mudder, so I had to do a 5K there in a wheelchair, which was memorable for its own reasons.
Oh, wow. Yeah, it sounds like it'd be memorable.
Yes, yeah. Awesome. So first time on the show, I want to hear all about your athletic background. So what did you do before finding obstacle course racing?
Before finding obstacle racing, well, really running started for me junior year of high school. So I started with track, and before that I was more of a hiker. And so then, I did my first year of track in, I think that would have been 2019?
Oh, wow.
And then did cross country the following year, and COVID kind of put the kibosh to track season for my senior year. So it was all just kind of on my own. But after graduating, I'd always been into the longer distance. So I sort of started to experiment with going further and wanted to try out for some, see how I could do with marathons. So I started putting in the training for marathons and raced my first one in the spring of 2021.
Okay.
It was the Wenatchee Marathon, and found that I was okay. And I think I ran like a 2:57, and so I mean I was pretty happy with that, and
I would be too.
so so I was kind of hooked there. So I kept up with the marathons and raced another one that fall. I think, let's see here, it was it's actually that August or September. I think it's September. I ended up getting into the Portland Spartan because it was actually my sister was going to do it, but she ended up with an injury, and so she passed on her registration to me. And so the reason why I'm here is all because of her.
We'll have to thank her.
Yeah. So and then I raced that one, and I was hooked for sure.
Going back to finding marathons, though, I think it's really interesting because when you think of track and running in college, even cross country, it's a lot less than a marathon. What do you think drove you to pursuing that kind of distance?
I just like I don't know. I always had it sort of intrigued me, just going further.
Yeah.
Kind of see where I could push myself, because and you can always push yourself, trying to go faster, but going further, it intrigued me for some reason.
Yeah, I can identify with that as someone who isn't fast though, and I'm sure I could probably get faster, but I feel like my ceiling of speed would be like here. But with distance, I feel like that there's so much out there that I find it more exciting for myself too.
Yeah, there's a whole new world.
Yeah, and then speaking of whole new worlds, how did that first Spartan go for you?
Well, it was the open 5K, and I mean, out of all of them, I had the fastest time out there. And so that got me excited.
Yeah.
And so I was like, wow, I went on and compared my time to the elite racers. And I was like, I don't remember where it sat, but it was, in the top 10. And so I was like, oh yeah, I kind of want to see where I can go with this now. So I then signed up for the Seattle Spartan the following month, and I raced. I forget if I got into the age group in that one or if I did that one open as well. But then I raced, I believe it was the super, and then the following year was all age group.
Yeah.
I was for sure hooked, and then just kind of wanted to start working my way up.
Yeah. Did you have any like friends that you kept in contact with from when you were running for schools too? Like, was there any kind of, I don't know, like, was like OCR like a dirty word, or like was there even like awareness of that when you were in school?
No, it was, aside from my family, I had to go into much detail to explain what OCR was.
Fair. Yeah.
Yeah.
Because it's interesting too. A lot of runners like set distances, set routes. It has to be on the roads. Like a lot of people are very traditional. Obviously, you said you did cross country, so not just on roads, but a lot of people just kind of dismiss OCR as like, oh, it's just like a mud run or whatever. But it's good that like you had an open mind and you're like, oh, this is actually pretty awesome, and like you did pretty well at it too. So, what did you think about the whole aspect of like compromised running and taking on obstacles? Like that must have been very new for you.
It was, but the thing I loved about it is it kind of in a way, and there's a lot of, I guess, aspects that I've been a climber for some time.
Okay.
So it took a lot of my, my strengths from climbing, so I could apply that and my running. And that's one thing that I loved about it.
Yeah, no, that makes sense because a lot of great runners don't transition well to OCR because of the grip strength. But if you're a climber too, like that was big. That's must have definitely come in handy. Were you part of like a climbing club, or was it just something that you like did on the side while in school?
I just did it on the side, just climbed with friends.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And where you would climb to, was it like indoor facilities or was it like actual rock climb? Because I've never actually gone actual rock climbing before, but
Mostly outdoors. When I first started, it was in the gyms, and then when I really got rolling, outside. If I could be out there, that's where I stuck.
Yeah. So I'm sure no fear of heights either then.
No.
Yeah. That's actually why out of college, that's why I took up rock climbing. As one, I didn't have much for grip strength, and two, even like being at the top of a rope climb back in Spartan like 2012, I was like terrified. So I'm like, this is a good way to kind of get both at the same time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Perfect.
So talk to me about your transition into like you do a couple OCRs, one or two in the open, and then realizing you want to take it to the next step and be bumped up to the elite. What was that process like for you?
Well, I spent the whole, because at that point there was still, you had to qualify
Right.
to go into the elite. So I spent that whole, almost the entire year, 2022, just doing age group races, and I forget how many I raced. I think I went to three or four different races.
Okay.
And I won all of the races that I went to, and so it was easy enough to qualify for the elite.
Yeah.
But then I was super excited to get into the elite, because then I wanted to be pushed harder.
Right.
So that, I think my first elite race might have been, my last age group race was, so my first elite race was the Portland Spartan that year.
Oh, nice. Okay.
Yeah. And I felt really confident going into that, and then it went totally not as planned.
So that's usually people's first experience with OCR too. So it sounded like you didn't get punched in the face until later. But
Yeah,
no.
no.
What did the qualification aspects, like you're winning all these age group races and all that? Did someone reach out to you, or after having that under your belt, did you reach out to somebody else? How did the qualification work? Because I actually don't know this.
It was, well, you had to have, there was a certain amount of age group, like podiums you had to have. And of course, depending on your podium spot, you might only have to have, say 2 first place podiums as opposed to 5 third place.
Mhm.
So then after that, then you'd have to go on to Spartan's website, and there was an application form that you had to fill out, and then they'd review that and get back to you and tell you if you were in or not, and give you a code.
So Spartan's not really known for being quick with anything, really. How long did it take them to like respond to your request?
It was actually surprisingly fast.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yes, I think. I mean, it was within a month.
Okay, that's not bad.
So,
Yeah.
yeah.
And then from as things have gone to like you need to qualify to elite, and then this year, what did you think about the change of there is really no gated elite wave? You just kind of this competitive. What did you think about the change to that?
It was. I mean, it was kind of interesting. Especially it just kind of. It was different from what I came into,
Mhm.
but I kind of like the idea because coming how I came into the OCR, rather than having to go spend an entire year racing age group,
Right.
you can just hop into the competitive and see where you stack up against everybody, actually be pushed racing these top level athletes.
Right. And from what I understand, because I myself am not like a competitive person, I just like to go out for a media lap or a fun lap with friends. But from what I've heard from a lot of age groups is they enjoy being pushed because not only is it like a physical challenge, but also you get to play on like mental race tactics too, right? So how's that something that you've had to improve on when racing other people now?
Well, I've pretty much kept my same tactic as I've always just kind of stuck with the same thing as I did from track and cross country, really.
Okay.
I'm stuck in the same pattern.
Well, it seems to be working for you, so probably shouldn't change that.
Yeah, no.
Yeah. And then someone that's not good at keeping to what they originally do. Spartan's moving back to the old way, where now there's like the elite and the age group waves. I know for at least the events that I've been going to, it makes it so the elite waves seem kind of bare, and then there's the people in age group that don't know like if they bumped up, they could have done better. And what are your thoughts of them kind of going back before they even gave the old system a chance?
Oh, well, I actually didn't even know that they were doing that.
Oh yes, okay. So it's fairly recent news that they're going back to how things were before, which is interesting. Yeah.
Okay. I don't really know what to think of it. It was kind of nice having a more filled out start line with
Right.
the having the competitive heat as opposed to elite and age group.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know.
I think what I had heard the most about, I guess, complaints about the system that they had in place this year was that it was somewhat difficult to identify like what your pace group would be. I heard like the qualifications for like the super were especially kind of bizarre, and so some people had trouble with that. But I think it would have been easier. I think it would have been easier for them to fix that and keep it so, if you get age group, it's because you actually got age group compared to it being like a separate race, which is bizarre, I think.
Oh, right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, they definitely have some things to, work out.
Yeah, I will say so if you didn't know that news, there's also the news, and this wouldn't concern you as much, but there's an age group series, but instead of there being one for the United States, it sounds like there's going to be one on the east side of the United States and one on the west side of the United States. Which
No,
I think
I did hear about that.
Yeah, so I think that'll be good, and hopefully they make it so it's not mandatory that you go to every race, because that's how the series was this year.
Yeah, and
what did you think about that?
well, it was kind of well, I would have been fine with it if they hadn't changed it like right after, I forget, because it started out they were supposed you didn't have to race them all, and then later on they changed it. And
Yeah,
that
it seemed
was
like
a
the
little
instructions
annoying.
were vague, and then they made it more specific and screwed a lot of people over.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, It was, I mean, it is what it is, but yeah, it was a little bit annoying.
Right. So I know you took on, was it Utah, I believe? Like, did you have any plan to go to all of them, or what was your plan for that series?
I had planned because Jacksonville, it was too early in the season for me. I was in the process of training for a 50K. So
Yes.
going and doing a 5K OCR race and financially just getting to Florida wasn't really on the plate for me. So I planned on Big Bear and Utah. And so, I mean, that's what I did.
Yeah. And it's a bummer because I would think that the points should kind of speak for themselves. Like if you only did 2 races and you earn more points than someone that did 3 races, well, you kind of deserve to do better than them. I would think.
Right. Yeah, I
Uh,
know. It's interesting.
yeah. Hopping around a little bit, I know that you mentioned the 50K. You took that on in like April, I think. How was your experience with that kind of increased distance?
It actually went pretty good. It was a 50K trail race, and there was a pretty good amount of elevation gain, and I definitely I went out a little bit fast, which is kind of, I mean, it's true to my style. I
Okay.
typically take it out fast, and yeah, I probably shouldn't have done that with the
An ultra.
50K. So
Yep.
so I led the whole race until the last like 5 miles, and then coming up the final climbs, I was just cramping so bad, and yeah, so it lost me my spot, but overall it was a good experience.
Yeah. Have you thought about taking on any other distances
Yeah.
at that distance or further then, or?
I do. Hopefully next year I'll get into a 50 like a 50 miler or 100K, something
Awesome.
like that. I kind of want to slowly work my way up and maybe eventually hit a 100 miler.
Yeah. There's a decent chunk of people in the OCR community that kind of have that overlap there. A lot of them end up doing World's Toughest Mudder. Like I think of Elliot Reeb, who I think he took on a 350-mile race,
Oh wow.
which is like stupid. And I know like
Yeah.
even marathoners when they think of a 50 miler, that's stupid, but like that's absolutely insane. But Trevor Psychos, all them. Have you been in touch with any of those athletes?
No, I haven't.
Okay, yeah, I'll have to connect you because I think that they're a little crazier, but I think that's like a really cool, and it does intersect with OCR a little bit too. Have you ever considered like a World's Toughest Mudder or like Ultra OCR too?
Oh yes, for sure. No, I definitely want to try out a world's toughest mudder. That one's on my list.
Yeah, I am absolutely biased. All of my on my chair, like I've bibs from all the World's Toughest Mudders I've gone to. It's my favorite event of the year. And even if you're not going to run there, like going to like pick through for people, it's just it's awesome time.
That's sweet.
The other side of super long distances, there was the 3K Spartan series last year too. I saw you took on like 1 or 2 of those events. What did you think of that format?
It was kind of cool. Definitely not quite my style.
Right.
I'm as far as Spartan goes, 21K is kind of my sweet spot.
Okay.
The 10K also, but yeah, more of those longer distances. So I was excited to try out the 3K, and I did better than I expected. Because especially I think I just came, let's see here, that was last year. So I just came off training for a marathon and raced a marathon, and then I did the Montana Spartan,
Okay.
and that was the beast.
Yep.
And
I
then
heard that course
right
is
after,
beautiful, by the way.
oh, I love that course.
Yeah.
And right after I got back, I got the invite for the 3K, and I was like, oh man, I gotta try this. This looks so cool. So I headed over to Big Bear, and that first one, that was a little bit rough. With the last minute throwing in of the double sandbag carry.
That's what I thought. It was that one. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. But after that, I started to train the carrying a little bit more, and I focused on the shorter distance training, and uh, Pennsylvania went significantly better.
Right. Yeah. So the whole double sandbag carry, some people were saying like, oh, expect the unexpected, but I think I would rather the elites, you guys, to be more aware of what would be on the course because that way you're more prepared for it, and that way the race looks even better. I feel like the surprise element isn't the best for of
Yeah, no,
racing. Yeah.
no, that turned the tables big time.
Yeah. And then I was there at the Palmerton one. I must have missed you at the various finish lines, but the barbed wire in Palmerton was absurd. How did that race
Oh,
go for you?
that was brutal.
Yes.
It was, yeah, that was the longest barbed wire crawl ever.
Longest
And
I've
yeah,
done, and I've done a lot. Yeah.
yeah, no, that was something else.
Yeah. What did you think about the format? Because it isn't just the 3K. If you do well, you end up in the 3K, but the 1K qualifying heats. What did you think about like race strategy of you don't want to go completely all out, but you want to go hard enough to actually qualify for the next heat?
It, it's kind of cool because it's a very tricky balance
Mm.
because, and plus you're not all in the same heat, so you don't know, and the other heat could go way faster than everybody, and then you're all out.
Yep.
So yeah, so finding that sweet spot, it is kind of cool.
Yeah. And Palmerton, especially compared to all the other series races for the 3K, that one was like the most stacked. There were athletes like Thomas Van Tonder came up from South Africa. Like athletes were
Oh
coming
yeah.
from all over for that race too. So what was it like competing against like some people that I'm sure you've never had the chance to compete against?
No, that was the highlight of the year for me.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, aside from going to Abu Dhabi, which was pretty cool, but to
Yes.
get to finally, after, that was my, I guess, going on my second year
Oh,
of OCR, to be in the same race with all these big names from
yeah.
around the world. That was so cool.
And I guess it'd be a time to name names, but like when you were starting to come up in the sport and you were doing like age group, how much awareness did you have of the elite field? And what were some names that kind of like popped out to you the most?
Really, the only ones that I knew about were Ryan Atkins and Lindsay Webster,
Fair.
and like Nicole Miracle,
Yeah.
because there were a handful of times that I watched some Spartan races with my family, and Robert Killian.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, so like they were really the only ones who I knew about before I got into Spartan, and then of course once I got hooked, then I dove head first and just soaked it all up.
Yeah. And then what is it like when you start to do well in the elite field and you're at that finish line and you're meeting people like how because the 99.9% of people don't get to experience that of like being able to bond with like the elite field. What was it like being approached by the other athletes and like building rapport and stuff with all of them, all your competitors?
It was so awesome, and everybody's just so they're just I can't think of the word for it. Everybody's just like so outgoing,
Yeah.
and it's so cool. That it's such an awesome community. And so then you get to the finish line and you have, this like Robert Killian walk up to you and, shake your hand. It's like so surreal.
Yeah. That's one of my favorite things about this sport too, is that the community is fantastic and the elites are just as like that. There's not many people walking around with like a super inflated ego. Like we're all like really, I don't know, it's a really cool sport in terms of like sportsmanship, and everyone wants to like compete against people at their best. And I've seen instances of competitors cheering on other competitors like while they're running and all that stuff too. So how is that different than like I guess track and cross country from before?
I'd say it's, well, it's kind of cool because, going from doing team sports
Hmm.
into this sport where it's just you, but the community is so like so tight knit
Yeah.
and just inclusive that it kind of makes you feel like you're on a team. So coming from just like that team sport into that, it was kind of cool.
Yeah. Good. I'm glad to hear that. And then you mentioned Abu Dhabi. What was your experience like going to a like championship race in a different country that was very far away. What was that experience like for you?
Let's say I learned a lot.
Yeah.
that that was a major learning experience for me. First time traveling internationally, and then by far the biggest race I had ever done.
Right.
And then, yeah, racing all in sand. That was new to me.
Yeah, I'm sure it's hard to prepare for, right?
Oh, for sure. Yeah, I mean, I have like no sand around me, and so middle of December, trying to heat train and get into some snow, but we didn't have a whole lot of snow at the time, so yeah, it was
That's tough too.
yeah, a little bit limited. And then I didn't even think of sand gators, so that
Painful.
got me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I heard some people compare running in snow similar to running in sand. Not an exact one-to-one, but somewhat similar. But you're exactly right. How do you prepare for heat, desert heat, when you're where you are and it's cold in the northern part of the US too. So that must have been really difficult.
Yeah, it was lots of overdressing.
Yeah.
Yeah, which was a little bit painful, especially when you're already used to the cold.
Yes. So would you prefer like racing in like absurd heat or absurd like cold? What's your preference?
Oh, absurd heat for sure.
Really? Okay.
I don't do too great in the cold.
Fair.
I've gotten better, but yeah, no, heat for sure.
I'm the exact opposite, and I haven't found as many people like me. But when it's in the heat, like it drains my battery so quickly, and I naturally overheat. So like if it's in like the 20s or 30s, I'm still running out in a t-shirt and all that. But
oh man,
yeah.
I'm jealous.
And but racing aside, how was the experience like being in another country like that?
It was super cool. Abu Dhabi's a cool place. Yeah, it was just the whole experience was very unique from what I had experienced at any of the other races. I mean, just being in a different country, of course, but yeah, it was pretty cool. And I mean, I met a lot of familiar faces there, which was nice, and then a handful of new people from different countries, which was really cool.
Yeah, I just interviewed Josh Fiore yesterday, and I was talking to him about how you do this sport enough and you meet a lot of people from other countries, and it just makes the world feel a little smaller in a good way. How has that experience been like?
It's been really cool. I mean, just like, yeah, I've already, raced Manuel Defoe a few times.
Yeah.
And so now it's like, him, Leon, Ida, Nicola.
Yes. Yeah.
So it's really cool. And I got to meet Thomas Van Tonder too.
Yeah, great dude. Love that accent.
Oh man, he's awesome.
He's so cool. Yeah, he's just a gentle giant.
He is. Yes.
Yeah. Oh, so being in your part of the country too, have you had the chance to race anything other than Spartan? I'm not too sure if you have any like local races or anything up there.
For OCR or
I guess starting with OCR and then like other favorite trail races.
Yeah, so as far as OCR goes, I have raced one Tough Mudder, which that was just for fun. I did it with some friends, which that was a lot of fun. It was a 10-miler one in Black Diamond.
Okay,
and I think that was 2 years ago.
Okay,
so that was still when I was fresh into OCR racing.
What did you think about those obstacles?
They were very interesting. It was, of course, I mean, all the ones in that, you had to have a teammate.
Right.
So that was kind of unique. So it was, I mean, not that I'd been racing OCR for very long, but it certainly wasn't what I was used to at that point.
It's different,
but they were cool.
Good.
And I've wanted to, try out another Tough Mudder, but of course, World's Toughest Mudder. But I haven't quite put in the research to kind of figure out how that all works.
Fair. It is one that if you show, the less you're prepared, the less you hurt in preparing for it, the more you're going to hurt during it. So it's definitely one of those events that like you have to set like almost like a year aside and be like, this is my world's toughest mudder year. Because it's a great time, but like it's, as Will Hicks says, it's not just a long, tough mudder. It's a long and more difficult tough mudder. Like the obstacles are ramped up and everything. But I mean, if the OCR community is awesome, I think the tough mudder community is even more special. And then the world's toughest community is like the epicenter of like the best people that have been in the sport. Some of the best people that have been in the sport. So that would be super cool to have you aboard sometime.
Oh yeah.
And then
No, it's
for like trail race. Oh, sorry.
no, it's just yeah, tough world's toughest mudder is definitely going to happen for me. It's a matter
Awesome.
of when. Yeah.
And then what about like other like trail races? What have been some other favorite venues and races that you've done?
Well, as far as up until last year, I had actually never done a trail race.
Okay.
So then I did the volcanic 15K, which is on Mount St. Helens, and that was last August, and that's a super cool course.
Sounds like
I prefer like my style of running. I like the steep and technical, and that one definitely, it wasn't super steep, but had a lot of technical. I mean, it went straight through a boulder field.
Oh wow.
So
Yeah.
that's right up my alley. So that was awesome. And then yeah, other than that, the 50K that I did this spring.
Yeah. It's tough to compare like the adventure of a road marathon to like any kind of trail race. Like the adventure is what gets me. I saw that you were very vocal about how you enjoy trail running more. Is it the adventure piece, or what is it that you enjoy more about the trails?
It's the adventure. I love there's just nothing's ever the same.
Yeah.
You're always, just there's so much variation in the terrain you're on, and you're always having to think, the most efficient way and make sure you're not ending up on your face. And yeah, and then of course just the landscape of the trail run. It's just way better than roads.
Yeah, it keeps your brain busy too. And also the impact on the joints too. Because can't remember it's twice the way, but like my first marathon was Infinitus. And I can't imagine, and that was years ago, I can't imagine doing a marathon on like the road. Like it just hurts to just think about it, both mentally and physically, for like my knees and everything. I just can't imagine that. And it just doesn't sound as fun. I'll have to do it eventually. I live in New England, so I'll have to fundraise and do the Boston Marathon, because when I tell anybody that I'm a runner, that's always the first question. Have you run the Boston Marathon? And
Oh yeah.
I'm saying no. So we'll have to do that eventually. But trail running is just, it feels so much more special. And I'm always trying to get more people to go out with it. And just pacing doesn't really matter. Just go out there and have a good time. And I love it.
Oh yeah. No, it's such a freeing place to run.
Yeah. And then with doing all these distances, do you have a like favorite that you've keyed in on that like this is your ultimate distance that you enjoy and that you're good at? Could be two different answers.
Well, I'd say it'd be kind of in the area between like 13, like a half marathon and a full marathon, really.
Okay.
I'd say out of the two trail races that I've done,
Yeah.
the 15K was definitely, or not 15K, 25K. I was thinking, because it's about 15 miles. So the 25K was definitely a really good distance, which I suppose is closer to the half marathon, which is definitely my sweet spot for the Spartans. So yeah, probably right around there would be kind of my distance so far.
Awesome. And then getting back to Spartan, the main reason why I finally was able to reach out to have you on the show, I want to hear about your preparation and everything getting ready for the Spartan Pan American Championships, because the fact that it was in your neck of the woods, I'm sure was a factor in you wanting to take it on, right?
Oh yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was not an option skipping out on this one. So yeah, I mean, I'd already raced this is my third or fourth time on the Seattle course.
Okay.
So I was familiar with it, and then being so close to home, I've always had to travel, quite a distance for all my races. So having that to my advantage, is kind of nice. As far as training for it, getting prepared. Let's see here. Trying to think. I raced. Utah was end of July, so I came out of that, and pretty much I had intended to do a 50K right after that, so I went back into 50K training, and then ended up missing the registration for the race.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, because it was kind of one of those like slightly questionable with work. So, I was holding off on registering till last minute, which was a little too last minute.
I bet.
So yeah, so then I went, from 50K to, going back to, half marathon, and of course I knew Seattle's, a pretty fast course. So I switched from training hills to going back to speed work, and my training definitely was not near what I was wanting it to be.
Okay.
I work in forestry.
I wonder that. I saw
So,
videos of you like cutting down trees and carrying the logs and all that.
yeah.
Okay.
So it kind of makes training a little tricky. One of the biggest things, for this entire year really has just been fatigue management. Making sure that I don't destroy myself. So it's, my weekly mileage was probably about half of what I was really hoping it to be. But I was still able to get in, the quality workouts that I wanted. I always keep up with my hill training, but then just throw in some speed work and try not to lose my endurance.
Yeah. And real quick on that, I think it's important for a lot of people that are competitive to hear that, and spoiler alert, things worked out well in the end. But the fact that like training didn't go as planned, but like you still showed up in the start line.
Oh yeah. No,
Yeah.
I felt good enough that, I figured I had a good shot at podium, which ended up being a very good shot.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, you never really know until you're up there. But yeah, training definitely wasn't optimal, but it was good enough that I felt I had enough confidence to get in there.
Yeah. And on the start line, did you still have all that confidence? What was kind of going through your head as you lined up with all the other athletes?
I still, once I kind of saw who showed up, I knew it was going to be a deep field, and I still, I think most everyone except for Brendan Neely. I had
Okay.
raced everybody except for him.
Yep.
At this point, so I kind of knew where I sat against everybody. Of course, it had always been on, mountain courses, so a lot steeper. So I knew that my speed I kind of had, and it was home.
Yeah.
I'd
Home
raced
field
on this
advantage.
course multiple times, so I had a little bit of an advantage. So I was still confident in a podium. The one wild card, I'd only raced Sean Roberts once,
Okay. Yep.
and everyone I talked to, they're like, "Man, he's so fast," and I was like, "Oh boy, here we go. This is." He was kind of him and Brendan were the two wild cards for me that really kind of when I thought about it, got my heart racing a little bit.
Yeah. That's gonna be exciting. And then walk us through it. How did the course go for you?
Yeah, it went really well. I felt so good. Everything just came together. I got all the obstacles. I didn't fail anything. I did on the vertical cargo. I slipped flipping over that and smashed my shin on the frame.
Fun.
So now I'm in recovery mode with 6 stitches on my shin.
Oh, you really hit it then. Okay.
Yeah.
Jesus.
So, yeah. I thankfully I didn't realize it at that moment.
Right.
But so it didn't. I was just like I smashed the ground, and I'm like, that's gonna be a good bruise, and it definitely hurt in the moment, but just got up and moved on. But no, overall everything went pretty good. I fell twice, tripping on the blackberries, and nearly did a face plant on the first sandbag carry.
Right.
But overall it went really well. I was super happy.
Yeah. And then what was going through your head as you crossed the finish line as the winner there?
It took me a few minutes to really. I had to, I almost had to slap myself to make sure I wasn't dreaming, because it was not what I expected at all. So to come across the finish line and then just be the only one there was amazing. It felt so good.
Good. Nice. I'm really happy to hear that too. I get excited for like hearing any person like win a big event like this, because I can't imagine what it's like to win an event like that too. So, when it started like kicking in and stuff, did it feel like a championship event? I mean, with all those people there and everything, like what was it like getting to see them all cross after you?
Oh, it was crazy. It felt like a championship event.
Good.
To see these guys that I had, they've beat me in every race that I've, been in against them. And then to see them crossing the line after me was it was crazy to think, but kind of cool that, like all the work I've been putting in is actually, it's paying off.
Yeah.
It's so cool to kind of to see where I've made it now.
Yeah. You definitely had your time to shine there. That's awesome. Would you chalk this up as like your biggest running accomplishment, or?
Yeah, probably. I think so, by far. I think the only. Yeah, I think this would be the one.
That's awesome. So sometimes when people achieve their goals or even surpass like what they had planned for their goals, is kind of like an emptiness feeling a little bit in terms of like what's next. So I guess I'll have to ask, like, obviously take the time, enjoy your win, but what is next for you? Any other events on the horizon planned?
Well, that's Pan American is the last for me this year.
Okay.
Next year, I'm still kind of looking at what's to come. I definitely want to find, an ultra race to get into. I really want to go do a trail race in France.
Okay.
Like maybe try out some of the Golden Trail Series races.
Yeah.
But that's all it's expensive doing that. So
Yes.
we'll see what happens there. But I'll probably hop into another, series for Spartan next year, and seeing that Trifecta Worlds is going to be in Virginia next year too.
Yep.
I think that's going to be on the list.
Yeah, that'd be awesome. I'm definitely planning to go. I've never had the chance to go to the Trifecta Championships in Greece, and so with West Virginia being considerably closer to me, and hopefully it's got to be less expensive, I plan to be there too next year. So I'm excited for that. And you also touched on something earlier that I meant to readdress too, is the fact that the OCR season's very long too. You talked about how Jacksonville is like way too early, this and that. How has it been like adapting to how long a typical OCR season is compared to track or cross country?
That hasn't really been. That wasn't really hard at all. I have a hard time slowing down.
Okay.
So it's kind of is perfect for me, because I'd come out of cross country and track and just be like just go crazy.
Yeah.
And really, taking off time is very hard for me. So being unable to run right now, I am going crazy.
Okay.
So no, the long season, I kind of enjoy it.
Yeah. Good. And I think that's something that some people end up like crawling in their skin. Some people enjoy it way too much. So it's a balance there. I can see that.
Oh yes.
Yeah. And then any like sponsors or people that you'd like to thank?
Well, Kriva, those guys, well, have been been sponsoring me for over a year now, and they've been awesome.
Yeah, tell me more about them.
Well, they do CBDA recovery product, and they're out of Washington.
Perfect.
And yeah, I first actually met the founder and Robert Killian for the first time at the
really?
Seattle Spartan 2 years ago, and then I tried out their product there and loved it, and then here I am now. They're sponsoring me.
That's gotta feel awesome.
It's been awesome, yeah. And then Elite Electrolytes, and they're out of Ogden, Utah.
Awesome.
Yes. So and then just all the awesome, friends, family, and all the racers that I've met. They've just been the support that they've given me along the way. It's been amazing.
Good. Yeah, I never get sick of hearing how good people are treated in that sport. It makes me feel good to be a part of that community.
Oh yes. No, I have yet to have a negative experience with anybody.
Good. And then where can people follow you on social media?
I'm on Instagram. I am Bean Machine 60.
I love that.
That was a running name that I was christened with in track. So, and then I'm on Facebook. I think. You can just look up Baylen Bean. I'm the one and only. So,
love it. Awesome. Well, thank you so much for taking the time to come on, and I love getting to know a little bit more about you, and congratulations on your amazing victory there.
Yes, thank you for having me.
Welcome back.
Thank you, Baylen Bean. It was great getting to know you more, and hope to meet you in person sometime next year. Also, I meant it when I said keep in touch about World's Toughest Mudder information if you want to get more into that. Definitely takes some more building up to do, but it's a great experience. For related episodes, episode 342 was the Spartan Poconos 3K audio and interviews with elites. Again, we missed him, but we did talk to a lot of his competitors that race, and that field was stacked, as you heard in the interview, with lots of really cool people. It was the first time I got to meet Thomas Van Tonder, and then just, great episode. I'd really recommend that one. Also, episode 344 was Angel Quintero on the competitive field in OCR, Glory Days of the Sport, and Pan American Championships. So that last bit being why it is related to this one. And then episode 386 was Hot Call on growing up in OCR, Big Bear National Series race, preparing for Broken Arrow, and more. And that's because I talked about Big Bear earlier this episode as well.
Subscribe and follow wherever you get your podcasts. We are on all of the podcast players. And if you're in that Purple Podcast app, leave us a review like we got an updated review from Will Hicks.
How does that show up?
It does, updated review.
Oh, interesting.
So it says 400... Oh, allegedly, it's Will Hicks. It's Will326326. 400 episodes, congratulations. Updated review. Mike and Caitlin have been crushing it for over 7 years now. Congratulations, you guys. Keep up the good work, and I'm looking forward to 400 more episodes from you two.
Oh boy.
5 stars.
5 stars.
5 stars.
You might be waiting a little bit for another 400 episodes, but yeah, thank you.
That's another 7 years.
Plus. But yes. Yeah.
No, we can't be doing this for another 7 years.
I might be, but we'll see.
You think the sport will still be here in 7 years?
Well, that's the thing with adventures. And we could also, rebrand our name, too. That's something that I feel like doesn't come up often, is that, we didn't start off with this name. But, adventures and running. There's always going to be stuff to talk about there.
Follow us on social media. We are on the Facebook and the Instagram at Obstacle Running Adventures.
You can support us over on Patreon for as little as $2, as many as $10. Get some behind-the-scenes looks at things with the show, fun games that we play. I promise you this is going to be a good one for October. It's just good
We
fun.
just had a good one.
Yeah, September was really fun. It was, I got 50% on the challenge there. Coming up next, I think next weekend is Midwest OCR, so maybe I'll have an athlete on from that. I think it'd be good to give Aaron and Data some love since we won't be there. Yes, since we won't be there in person. But also tomorrow for OC Report's 30 podcasts, half September, is World's Toughest Podcast. So look forward to that. Caitlin, I have a joke. Do you have a quote?
I do. My quote is from Desmond Tutu. I think that's how you say it. Hope is being able to see that there is light despite all of the darkness.
Nice. And my joke is, I was struck by a bottle of omega-3 pills. Luckily, my wounds were only super fish oil. Super fish oil.
That's funny.
Awesome. Well, that just about wraps it up. My name is Michael Stefano.
And my name's Caitlin Ritter.
And we'll talk to you next week.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you for listening.
If you enjoyed this episode, please be sure to subscribe to our show and write us a review on your favorite podcast app.
You can also follow us on Instagram and Facebook and connect with us there.
Most importantly, we would appreciate it if you shared an episode with a friend so we can reach more ears.
Then continue to effectively shine a light on the people in our sport, as well as the events that we are so passionate about.
Our intro song is Streaker by Straight Up, and our outro music is Iron Call by The Best.
Savage Race Georgia podiums.
I just read those.
Spartan Race Angel Stadium podiums.